What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm super excited to be bringing you guys my list of the best competitive bug-type Pokemon in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. For those of you guys who don't know, bug types are my absolute favorite type, and before we get into this list, I just want to challenge you guys with a little question of the day, and that is, what do you think the most underrated Pokemon type is? Especially going into these new remakes. What do you think the most underrated type is? I think pre-Gen 4, it was actually bug types. Bug types, for those of you guys who don't know, used to be pretty not great. And after Gen 4, after things like Scizor got Technician, and, Heracross got, Close Combat, and, Forretress was a good spinner, bug types were definitely a force to be reckoned with, and definitely those, bug steel types like Forretress and Scizor were definitely a mainstay in the meta. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the answer to the question today. Let me know the most underrated Pokemon type, and maybe I'll cover it in the next tier list. Even call this a tier list. You can see kind of I have these sorted out into the top 25 because basically I feel there are 25 Pokemon that are worthy to actually be competitive Pokemon, and that's going to be these Pokemon right here. I feel the only not fully evolved Pokemon is going to be Scyther, because Scyther is still definitely a different playstyle from Scizor. It has a much higher base speed, and thinking about base stats, we're actually taking a look at all of the base stats, all of the different moves, and every single thing every one of these Pokemon learns. So if you want a crash course on how to use all 25 of these amazing bug types, this is going to be the video for you, I guess. This is going to be the video for newer players looking to get their start in competitive Pokemon for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. But you know what? This can be definitely attributed to any Pokemon game. If you're still going to play Sword and Shield, you're going to play VGC, there's still stuff that you can learn here. So without further ado, let's just get right onto the list. I don't want to take a super long time and, do a super lame intro, but you know what, here we are. So again, like I said, there's 25 that we're really going to be taking a look at, not including Wormadam forms. I'm going to rank all the Wormadam forms in the same spot, but I think the 25th best competitive bug type Pokemon in the game is going to be, I think it's going to be Ledian. And I think Ledian is a cool Pokemon, but it really doesn't get a lot of the tools that, a lot of other Pokemon will need to be good. So let's start off by taking a look at Ledian. Here's Ledian. You can see its base stats are right here. 55 base HP, 35 attack, 50 defense, 55 special attack, 110 specialty, which is pretty nice, and 85 speed, which is okay at the end of the day. We're taking a look at some of its TM moves, and I think the biggest thing that really stick out are things like, Light Screen, it gets access to Roost, it gets access to Fling, Swords Dance, I think it gets Baton Pass as well. It gets both Light Screen and Reflect as level up moves. So it gets some pretty okay attacks, but it's more so Ledian just is really, really abysmal in all of its offensive stats. And so, and its speed stat is just kind of subpar. And remember guys, bug types, especially bug flying types, are going to have double the weakness, 4 times weakness to rocks. So Stealth Rocks, you send on a Ledian, and it's already half gone. I feel there's a lot of better bug types in the game. And while I think Ledian could be a really cool pick, I feel 90% of the time, you're better off using almost any other Pokemon in this list, especially if you want basically Ledian's a bug flying type that I don't think gets Quiver, right? I don't think it gets Quiver Dance, right? Yeah, it doesn't look like it gets the Quiver. If we scroll down a little bit, it doesn't really get the Quiver, and so it'd be cool if you could Baton Pass Quiver Dance, because it does get Baton Pass, but if Baton Pass is Swords Dance and things like that, which at the end of the day are cool, but there's better Pokemon like Ninjask for that. So Ledian's going to fall just a little bit short, and unfortunately for how cool it looks, it's going to be last on our list. Up next is going to be Beautifly, which we're going to put that right here. I think Beautifly is a really, really cool bug type. It's one of my favorites. Butterflies are, obviously, the reason why I like bug types, or is it, as you guys know, Butterfree is my favorite Pokemon. But let's type up Beautifly, and wait for this thing to load a million times. Alright, so Beautifly is right here, and so Beautifly, you can see it does get the Quiver Dance, but it loses Sleep Powder. And it doesn't have an amazing ability. I don't even remember. I think it gets Swarm as its ability, to be honest. I think that's basically it. It gets cool things like Morning Sun and Attract. But in reality, it's basically just a worse Venomoth, a worse Butterfree. Every one of these bugs in the lower tiers is going to be basically a worse version of another bug that's already a lot higher. So yes, it gets the Quiver. Yes, it gets special attacks, but it doesn't get the Sleep Powder, right? And that's basically, and it doesn't get Tailwind. It doesn't get a lot of the cool things that a lot of the other bugs get. And so while it is really cool, I'm still gonna have to put it kind of low on the list. Up a little bit better, I think, is gonna be the Dustox. And I personally, I do like Beautifly more than Dustox, but I think Dustox actually brings a lot more to the table in I think Dustox, like if we take a look at their stats, we didn't even take a look at Beautifly stats. Like 65 base speed is way too low. But like Dustox is a lot bulkier than Beautifly. Beautifly has a lot more special attack. Dustox is going to be a lot bulkier than the Beautifly, but rocking like the 90 base SPDF and the 70 defense. And so I think Dustox can just be a little bit better as like a toxic staller as well, with like Roost and Toxic. It's still going to be a poison type. I think it's a bug poison. So it's going to be able to go for like Toxic, Moonlight, Roost, things like that. And generally like has its own play style. Like Dustox sometimes does see play in like the very low tiers. And who knows, like it might see some play coming into Diamond and Pearl remakes, but you know, I still don't think it's that great. And obviously, in terms of looks, I think Beautifly crushes it. But I know there's a lot of people that like Dustox, so like, you know, if you like Dustox, well, here you go. Up next, you're starting to see a pattern. Look, I can say the word pattern. These third evolution bug types, they're not gonna be that great. We're gonna take a look at Beedrill next. All right, Beedrill. So find Beedrill. So Beedrill right here, 75 base speed is pretty decent. 90 base attack is really good. I think Beedrill actually got a lot of tools. Like it gets Toxic Spikes in this format. It gets Endeavor, which is pretty cool. It gets the big stab U-turn. But at the end of the day, it's just really not that great. It doesn't really have enough attack to really hang with all the other big physical sweepers. It doesn't have really enough speed. Even if you Scarf it, it's still going to be slower than a lot of the base 130s in the meta. So while it does get like the big U-turn, it does get like spikes and you know, other really cool moves. It also is not rocking like Taunt or any other things that, you know, give it a niche. I guess the coolest thing it gets is like Defog, but that really does clash with its ability to set spikes. And so while I think Beedrill might be just a little bit more polished than the Pokemon in front of it, there's still a ton of other Pokemon that are better than Beedrill in my opinion. Next is going to be Vespiquen. I think Vespiquen or Vespiquen is not terrible. I guess the biggest problem with a lot of these Pokemon is that like they have the bug flying type. You can see, and so they take like big damage from rocks, and you need rapid spinners and defoggers to make these Pokemon work. Vespiquen has really good base defenses. It has a decent base HP. You can see their stat line right here. Slow speed, so you can use it in Trick Room. It can set up like Defender to give it a +1 attack and special attack. Sorry, special defense and defense instead, and then just use like Roost to make sure they don't die and set up Toxic. I think it still does get Toxic. There it is. So it's a decent Toxic staller. They did take Toxic off a lot of Pokemon, but they left it here. I think Vespiquen is really cool, but it's outclassed by basically any other Pokemon that does get Toxic. Like if you're just thinking realistically, there's not a single reason to use a Pokemon like Vespiquen when you could use like a Quagsire, for example, or even like a Shuckle, which is another bug type that's on this list. So I think Vespiquen's cool. I think I'm definitely gonna use it because I think it's awesome, but I definitely think it's more near the bottom of the barrel bug types in my opinion. Up next, I'm gonna put all 3 Wormadams in the next slot. So this is not taking up 3 slots, it's just gonna take up 1 slot. I'm gonna put all 3 Wormadams here just because I think they're not amazing, and we're gonna talk about why. So Wormadam, take a minute for this thing to come up. So you can see Wormadam are gonna be 3 different types. There's a bug ground type, there is a bug steel type, and there's a bug flying type. Now, all 3 of these types have different like base stats. 2 of them are gonna be relatively slow with a 36 base speed, and one of them is gonna be a 66 base speed. So basically the steel type is going to be really bulky. The, the ground type is going to be like a mix of both with more defense and the, instead of special D. And then the bug flying type is going to have a little bit more special attack. They get some cool attacks, I'm not going to lie. Like the steel one gets like Iron Head, that's awesome. It gets Bug Buzz if you want to be special. It gets Metal Burst if you want to use that. The bug flying one does get Quiver Dance off a 66 base speed, so it is technically usable. It gets like Roost, Air Slashes, Stab, Bug Buzz. They get decent move. They get Defog. At least the bug flying one gets Defog. So like there's decent moves there, but for the most part, I think it's cool that the bug ground one gets Fisher. That's kind of nice. That's kind of nice to see, even though Fisher would probably be banned in singles. And again, I want to just give a disclaimer. This is all basically for the singles format. I think a lot of people are like, you didn't talk about this Pokemon gets Wide Guard or Rage Powder. It's like, this is going to be mostly for singles. That's how I'm making the list. But yeah, I think Wormadam's okay. It's just generally a little bit too slow to be usable. It's pretty much like a poor man's Escavalier, and in a singles format, yes, those Pokemon can be good, but there's not really going to be like Trick Room. Trick Room's not really going to be a big thing in singles, especially in like this format where we're not going to have as many Trick Room setters. So you're basically, at this point, if you want to run one that's not Trick Room, you're going to be running the bug flying one with this base speed stat, like 66, even though you get Quiver. There's better Quiver Dance users. Again, there's no Sleep Powder. There's no real way to guarantee you get your Quiver off. So it's just going to be a little bit suboptimal in my opinion. So there's the Wormadam bros. Up next is going to be Illumise, and I'm not going to lie, I know I said bug types are my favorite. We're covering like all the bug types that like I never use, so I don't have like super amazing information. I apologize. But let's take a look at Illumise. Or is it, how would you pronounce this? Is it Illumise? I've always called it Illumise. Anyways, let's look at it. It gets Prankster as its hidden ability, so you can expect it to have Prankster in this game. It's going to have like Aromatherapy, Thunder Wave. I think it might, I don't think it still gets Baton Pass, but it does get like Play Rough. It does get like a Moonlight, Dazzling Gleam as a Fairy type. It says Bug, probably because like Fairy isn't coded in yet, but it's normally a Fairy type. It gets access like Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball. It has like decent special attack. And so I think this Pokemon is basically where the list is going to change to where like I think that this Pokemon is decent, worth respecting. You know, can hold Sash, can hold a Life Orb. I've seen this thing be Scarfed before and seen play in other formats. People just generally aren't ready for this thing most of the time, and it has like decent coverage. So definitely watch out for this guy, but I think there are still better Pokemon in the meta. So we're going to put it right here. And now we can start talking about the good Pokemon. Pokemon that I have some experience with. That's right, we're talking about Parasect. Parasect, the boy. Yo, Parasect, absolutely amazing. Doesn't even need any introduction. But for everyone thinking like, what? Parasect, how can you put it so low? That's your guy. That's the thing that like carried me all the way through Let's Go. And the thing is, Let's Go was a very different game. There's a lot less Tauntmons. There's a lot less things going on in Let's Go. A lot less abilities. A lot less items. Kind of like none of those things. So Parasect was able to be a lot better in that format. The number one thing that Parasect gets is going to be Spore here. So you can go for a Spore, a slow Spore. So they go for their first attack. You soak the damage Spore. You set up a Leech Seed. You set up a Substitute. And from there, you just kind of wait it out. You can weave in things like Scizors if you want. It also does get like Rage Powder and Wide Guard if you were playing doubles. But I think Parasect is kind of just okay. It plays more like an Amoonguss than, you know, other Pokemon in this list. I think it's definitely more of an Amoonguss type Pokemon. And Amoonguss without Regenerator wouldn't really be that good in singles. And Amoonguss is normally like a Toxic Star actually in singles with like a Regenerator and a bunch of other like, you know, restoration moves. Kind of like a weird Sub-Seeder with Spore. So it's not amazing, but it's definitely usable. And being a Bug Grass type is pretty unique. You don't really see that often. So the Bug Grass types are going to be pretty decent on this list. So let's see. Up next. Mothim. I think Mothim is going to be okay. And so remember how we talked a little bit about like, you know, Beautifly was a Pokemon that got Quiver and just didn't really do that much with it. Wormadam was a Pokemon that got Quiver and didn't really do that much with it. Let's take a look at Mothim. And hopefully you guys are liking this video. If you guys are liking it, think about actually liking the video. Oh my gosh, I would really appreciate that. I'd really appreciate that. We're waiting for this page to load because there's so much stuff for it to actually process. But Mothim here, being a 66 base speed, not amazing, but it can do a lot more with a Quiver than some of these other Pokemon can. So Mothim can be physical or special, which is kind of nice. I think that one of my actual favorite sets, if we're not going to talk about Quiver, is Mothim that has full attack investment, full special attack investment, and a Scarf with just a little bit of speed, so you can still outspeed base hundreds at +1. And so you can be a super cool mix sweeper, which like not that many Pokemon can really do, but it gets good physical attacks like Lunge, it gets good special attacks like Psychic, like Air Slash, like Bug Buzz, and I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's just a little bit better because it has better coverage and a better spread of its you know, base stats than something like a Beautifly would. So Mothim's definitely cool, and again, it also like looks super cool. Like Mothim's actually super cool looking, so that's where we're gonna put it. Here we go. Pinsir. People are probably thinking this guy's way too low, but we're going to talk about why he's low. Pinsir. If I can type. Alright, Pinsir's right here. So you can see Pinsir, this is where we're starting to get into some good stats. 85 base speed is better than most of the things we've seen so far. And 125 is an absolutely amazing attack stat. 100 is a good base defense stat. Even 70 is not that bad in terms of special defense stat. Pinsir gets a bunch of cool things. It gets like things like Feint if you want to play doubles, Quick Attack, Close Combat, Bug Bite, Superpower. Those are all great egg moves off of having Swords Dance access, having Big Scizor access. What are some other really cool moves it gets? It gets Rock Slide to be able to pin things. Gets Stone Edge if you want to just go for that big single target move. It still get access to like Substitute, Brick Break. I wouldn't really use it with Focus Punch, but you're starting to see like Pinsir, oh, Earthquake right there. It has the tools, right? Pinsir has the tools, and it is just a solo bug type. It's not like a bug flying because that's only a Mega Pinsir. But basically, tell me a reason to use a Pinsir over a Heracross. There isn't really one. Heracross literally does exactly this, but with like a stab on the fighting moves. Pinsir's cool. There's nothing as necessarily like wrong with Pinsir, but it's definitely a poor man's Heracross and an example of just like how power creep works over previous gens. So Pinsir's cool. A little bit better in the Let's Go games. Definitely good with the Mega Evolution, but, you know, it's not in the game. So we're not going to be looking at Mega Evolutions. Up next, this Pokemon's going to be super low compared to most people. Most people would put this Pokemon a lot higher, I think. But it's going to be Shedinja. I know Shedinja's a really, really good Pokemon in VGC right now. It has the ability Wonder Guard, which means it can only take damage from super effective attacks and status moves. So that's going to be Stealth Rocks and Sandstorm that are going to be killing this guy every single game. So let's just take a look at it anyways. So Shedinja's going to be coming up here. Yeah, rocks are super, super common in singles, and there's no heavy duty boots, which means you need to pair this guy with a ton of, defog / rapid spin moves. Shedinja can be usable, but at the end of the day, you're better off just running like an actual Pokemon that doesn't suck. You see, it has 1 HP, decent attack stat, relatively slow. It gets access to like, Shadow Sneak. It doesn't get toxic anymore, so you have to use Will-O-Wisp, which is okay if you want to like stall them out. But I think Shedinja is just kind of okay in singles. It's definitely a much lower tier Pokemon. And the lower tiers you go, the more random coverage you start seeing. So like, the only reason this thing's good in VGC right now is because everyone's using Zacian, Kyogre, and Xerneas, right? Those are 3 really, really big Pokemon. Even Calyrex Ice. Those things can't hit it because they don't have super effective attack. So the better the Pokemon, the more they really tunnel into the one thing that makes them good. Kind of like Kyogre, kind of like Xerneas. They only really have their stab moves and maybe one other type of attack. But when you start getting to like the lower tiers, you start seeing weird stuff. Kind of like how Pinsir has like crazy good coverage. You start to see that crazy good coverage in the lower tiers. And so Shedinja can't really be used in the lower tiers, and it's not popular enough to be in the overused tier or even see a lot of play in the big singles format. So just unfortunately not going to see a lot of our boy Shedinja, at least in my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. Up next, we got this guy. I think he's called Armaldo. And there's a couple reasons why he's going to be usable. I think that's how you spell it. Is it Armaldo? Is that his name? I've never really liked using this guy, but I've seen it around. Hopefully I typed it right. Cool, Armaldo. So you can see 125 good attack, 100 good defense, 45 a little bit on the slow side, but it does get Swift Swim, which is going to actually be pretty decent in this form. I think it gets Swift Swim. So Swift Swim is definitely going to be an ability that makes it good. Has great coverage actually, so it gets access to like Scizor. You get Rock attacks. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we have here. Iron Tail's good, Earthquake's good, Brick Break's good. Let's see. The cool thing about this guy is he can also technically build special Rock Polish if you want even more speed. Stone for a big stab. Swords Dance Stealth Rock is amazing and kind of hard to come by on bug types. Stab Rock Slide, Stab Scizor. It's not a terrible mon. It's really not a terrible mon at all. And I think it's one that's definitely worth respecting. You can build this guy super bulky, be able to soak damage. At the end of the day, though, it's still going to pale in comparison to things like, Scizor and Heracross and a bunch of the other, just bug types that have like fuller, more realized kits. And so you can see kind of where we put it. It's more near the upper echelon, but it's still in kind of the middle of the pack for our tier list. Up next is going to be, this is going to be a surprise, but I actually think that Kricketune is not even bad. I think this is number 11, I think. Kricketune is not bad. We were taking a look at Kricketune when we took a look at this list the other day of all the moves. And like this Pokemon like actually blew me away with all the cool moves that it gets. So you can see Kricketune right here. So first of all, Kricketune has decent base attack, 85, 65 is decent enough speed. It gets Taunt, which is very uncommon on ghost types. Sorry, not ghost types, bug types, Slamao. Let's pull this over this way just a little bit more so you guys can see all the moves here. I'm surprised I didn't do that earlier. But it gets access to like Brick Break. It gets Aerial Ace, which is, good against other bug types. Bug Buzz if you want to be able to special, which it can be. Swords Dance if you want it. X's or Big Stab. But then it gets a bunch of really cool moves. It gets Sing, which is super uncommon. It gets Fell Sting, which is uncommon. And it gets Sticky Web and Perish Song, which I think are so like left field weird, but like really, really good. I first of all think like Sticky Web is going to be absolutely amazing in this format. It was not a move that was in Gen 4, if I recall correctly. I think it's a Gen 5 new move. But yeah, Sticky Web is going to be amazing, and you're going to start to see a lot of the Pokemon that get Sticky Web. We're going to put those pretty high on the list. Sticky Web, for those who don't know, is a hazard that says every single time your opponent brings in a Pokemon, if they're grounded, not levitating or flying, they get a -1 speed stat. And it's going to allow Pokemon that wouldn't normally be good, kind of like how Pinsir, kind of like how Kricketune, it's going to allow those Pokemon to actually be usable. So very, very underrated mon that gets a bunch of moves that are worth respecting. So it's definitely going to have to almost be top 10 considering it's a subpar stat line, I guess. Up next, 10th, I'm gonna put Volbeat here. Volbeat is a little bit of a weird one. Volbeat can be a little bit weird, but we're gonna take a look at the reason why. So if you take a look at Volbeat's like base stats, they're not amazing. Like 85 base speed's okay, you know, 70s in around like 73 attack, 47 special attack. It's pretty weak, right? It's pretty weak. But it gets a bunch of cool moves that a lot of other Pokemon don't get, and that's more importantly just like Tail Glow. It gets Tail Glow, which is absolutely amazing, and I think it does still get. If it doesn't get Baton Pass, I'm gonna have to change my list. But I thought it still got Baton Pass. Yeah, Baton Pass is an egg move. As well as like Trick, Encore. Being able to go Prankster, Encore is amazing. It gets a bunch of other really cool moves. So you can go like Substitute, Baton Pass. Baton Pass your Tail Glows, which is a +3 boost to a special attack. So it's like a super nasty plot. And it's not even like bad. So that's basically just enough to put it in top 10. So if you can put something to sleep, or incapacitate something, or send out Volbeat in a situation where they can't actually KO it. Like, for example, like if you send out Volbeat against a Pokemon that doesn't have like a move that can like two-shot it, you just use a Sash Volbeat, go Tail Glow, soak damage, clock your Sash, next turn, Prankster Baton Pass out into something that won't die. It now has a +3 special attack, and you can just win the game with that. So Volbeat, not terrible. It depends on if they want to ban Baton Pass in this format, but because it has been banned in the past. But I think Volbeat's pretty good and definitely one worth respecting. I would say like that's like an Enigma Pokemon that can definitely mess with people if they're not ready for it. Up next is gonna be Masquerain. We talked a little about Masquerain. I talked about how much I liked it when we went over the full moves list. Let's check it out. If I can type. Hopefully I typed that thing out correctly. So Masquerain, here we go. So you can see, again, its stat line, not amazing. I like that it has at least an 80 base speed. The cool thing about this Pokemon is it gets Intimidate as one of its abilities. So it's the only bug type with Intimidate, which is really, really good. It is a better example of how to correctly use Quiver Dancers in that it gets Quiver Dance, it has a little bit faster speed stat, so this is actually fast enough to actually be usable in my opinion. It gets Baton Pass and other cool moves if you want, but it also gets, like, if you take a look at Surskit here, egg moves, Hydro Pump, very unique coverage on this bug type. Normally bug types really struggle dealing with rock and ground types, and so you can definitely just egg move Hydro Pump, put this on this thing's pretty decent special attack stat in base 100. It also gets access to, where is it? Where did it go? Sticky Web right here. So it gets access to Sticky Web too. So it's a Sticky Web user that gets access to Quiver Dance, Hydro Pump. It's definitely worthy of being in the top 10. And it stabs Air Slash, stabs Bug Buzz. It's a great mon overall. I'm planning on using a lot of this thing. Does it still get U-turn? It does. So you can just U-turn and Intimidate spam with this thing if you want to build it like that. So you can go like U-turn, Hydro Pump, just put a Scarf on this thing and just, you don't even need the Quiver. Make it like a Revenge KO mon with like Hydro, Air Slash, Bug Buzz, U-turn. And just Intimidate spam / Revenge KO all game. I like that set a lot. Also, like if you want to use a Sticky Web, feel free to go for it. It's a great set. Up next, you're seeing a pattern of Sticky Web mons. Ariados is going to be up next. I think Ariados might be just a little bit better because it gets more hazards. And I guess maybe I'm just putting Ariados here because I've used Ariados, and this is a deceiving stat line. Ariados is thicker than you think, but it's just not terrible. It gets Sucker Punch to Revenge KO, and you can't really put a price on Sucker Punch in my opinion, but it gets access to, I think, Toxic Spikes as well. So it gets the big Sticky Web that's down here. Just scroll all the way down there, but I think it also gets Toxic Spikes, if I'm not mistaken. Let's look at Spinarak. It gets a Rage Powder. I might have put, it gets Mega Horn as an egg move. It gets Baton Pass, Toxic Spikes. So I think the ability for it to do so many different things like this are kind of what make it not terrible. You just got to send it out at the right time. You can add multiple layers of hazards. So you tend to play this thing more as like a hazard mon that can pin things and like one-shot something with like an absolutely big like Mega Horn or Revenge KO with Sucker Punch if your opponent's like not playing the game correctly. And so I think it's okay. It also gets access to like a big stabbed Poison Jab and things like that. So it's pretty decent. It also gets like cool moves like Psychic and Shadow Sneak, which are pretty uncommon on bug types in my opinion. But Ariados is right there. It might be worth it to go like this instead, because I think Masquerain might be just a little better because it's faster, but it's completely up to you. I think Ariados is just a little bit better. Up next, though, is going to be the boy, Shuckle. Shuckle is a menace in VGC. But in singles, it's pretty manageable. You gotta taunt it, right? You just gotta taunt it. It gets access to Final Gambit, which is not gonna be amazing because on that 20 base HP. But 230 defense, 230 specialty, very, very slow. Basically, what you want to do with Shuckle is you send Shuckle out, you use Stealth Rocks, and if they don't kill you, which they probably won't, you try to Toxic them. And that's basically it. Then if that all works, you switch out your Shuckle and just save it. Shuckle's like a really low tier Roxmon. I've maybe like RU/UU back in the day. Its damaging moves aren't anything to write home about. All the cool stuff you can do with like Power Split, Guard Split, all those things, they're not really going to be that usable. Shell Smash is not going to be great on a 5 base Speedmon, so you don't really want to use that. Contrary is its other ability, you don't really need that as well. It basically is just a Toxic Staller that is really, really bulky. Sometimes people would go like Stealth Rocks, Toxic, Protect, Sub, and they would try to like weave in subs and protects to make it so Toxic, you know, just did more damage over time. So then you'd weave in like leftovers, healing. It's definitely good enough to be top 10. It's definitely going to be top 10 because it requires to be taunted you. There's not going to be that many moves that just one-shot a Shuckle. And especially if they keep the way Sturdy interacts, it has Sturdy as its ability, so it's not going to get one-shotted. But it does take Stealth Rock's super effective damage. Being a bug rock type, Rock is actually neutral against rocks, is still super effective against Shuckle. And it has to watch out for that. So that's probably a big weakness of Shuckle. Next Pokemon is gonna be Scyther. I think Scyther is definitely going to be the 6th Mon. The Phantom 6th Mon. So let's look at Scyther. So Scyther is actually going to be a lot different than Scizor. Yes, it still gets Technician, which is actually still really good. And let's just wait for this page to like catch up. It takes a little bit. It just takes a little bit sometimes. But it gets Counter, it gets Night Slash, it gets Faint, Quick Guard, Baton Pass. Those are all great moves. Baton Pass and Swords Dance are great. The cool thing that sets Scyther apart from Scizor is it has a 105 base speed. So it's a great lead U-turn Mon that can potentially just go for like absolutely massive X Scizors. It's going to lose Bug Bite in this gen, so it has to go for X Scizor / U-turn. It loses access to dual Wing Beat, and that's completely fine. It has to go for like a stabbed wing attack based off of the, or like an Aerial Ace or something like that based off the Technician. But I think it's definitely worth respecting. 105 is a really unique speed stat where most of the fast Pokemon in this format are going to cap out around base 100. So things like Straptor, things like Salamence, things like Zapdos, those are all going to be base 100s. And you're still outspeeding things like Garchomp, which is 102, with Scyther's 105. So a Jolly Scyther off a 110 base attack can U-turn out and just be a really, really good Mon. It also still gets access to Defog if you want to make it like a Defog Mon. It does have a 4x weakness to rocks, which is pretty not great. But it gets good tools. It gets Brick Break, it gets Steel Wing, it gets Aerial Ace. Good overall Mon. Good overall Mon. Still worth respecting. Even without Scizor, it's still great. And there is no Eviolite in this gen. Just remember, there's no Eviolite. So you got to just play it with like a Sash or a Band or a Scarf or something. We're into the top 5. These are the good ones. And we still have a few Mons left. We have a lot of Mons left. Have I been doing this all wrong? Have I just been doing this wrong? Is there supposed to be like 6 in every one of these? We still have a lot of Mons left. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, wait. I messed my whole list up. I messed the whole list up. Everyone's going to be like, that's you keep messing up your list. There we go. We're not even in the top 10 yet. All right, I thought it was weird when I said Ariados was top 10. And I was like, is it though? Yeah, I was like, this isn't right. Yeah, because the Wormadams all take up 1 slot back there. All right, well, I'm sorry. I apologize. This is my first time doing this. Weaving in the different pages and stuff like that. So, cut me some slack. It's going to be our boy Butterfree. I think Butterfree is really good. So, Butterfree, not going to be terrible, Mon. 70 base speed is enough. It's enough. It's faster than some of the other things like the Wormadam. But the cool thing about Butterfree is it has Compound Eyes, right? So Compound Eyes is going to increase your accuracy by about 30%. And it's able to go for big Sleep Powders, right? Which are going to be boosted up to like 98.6% accuracy thanks to the Compound Eyes. So it's almost a Swirl of a Sleep Powder. And then from there, it gets Quiver, right? So Sleep Powder plus Quiver equals usable Pokemon. Sleep Powder plus Quiver equals usable Pokemon. It gets decent coverage. It loses Hurricane in this gen, so you're going to have to go with things like Air Slash, Psychic, Bug Buzz, but it's definitely usable Mon. I think it also does get Defog. If we find it around here, somebody used to get Defog. Looks like I'm not seeing Defog's right there. So if you want to be a Defog user, totally can. But other than that, I love Butterfree. It's my favorite Pokemon, and it's definitely usable in this format, but not as good as some of the other things. So some of the other things being Venomoth. So here's the, I guess Ariados is still in the 10th. Its 10th slot is Ariados. I guess you could switch Ariados and Masquerain, but Venomoth's another really good Mon. So let's stick with Venomoth. So let's take a look at the Venomoth here. Oh. There we go, type that up correctly. So Venomoth right here. And the reason why Venomoth is just a little bit better than Butterfree is it's a little bit faster than Butterfree. And it is not a bug flying, it's a bug poison. So it's going to be able to have a secondary stab while also taking less damage from Stealth Rocks. If you remember back in the Let's Go days, Venomoth was almost as good. It was better than Butterfree, and it was definitely a Pokemon that could hang. It was just one of those things that, like, you had to get the perfect setup, send up Venomoth against the wall, go for the Sleep Powder, go for 1 to 2 Quiver Dances, and you're trying to sweep the game. It does still get the Sleep Powder. You have to get Sleep Powder, I think, from Venonat. I don't know. No, it's still actually earns it, level 29 down here. So it gets Sleep Powder, it gets Quiver, and then it gets, like, Bug Buzz, it gets Psychic, it gets Sludge Bomb, I still think. Giga Drain's nice, Sludge Bomb's right there. So it's a good mon. It's just a great mon. Venomoth's going to see some play, I think. Yeah, definitely watch out for Venomoth. Don't get set up on, right? And again, Venomoth also gets Compound Eyes just like Butterfree, so it has the big... I think, actually, it gets Tinted Lens, doesn't it? I don't think Venomoth gets Compound Eyes. Chat, let me know if Venomoth if it gets Compound Eyes. I think it still does. I think it still does. I think it might just get Tinted Lens, though. I could be super wrong. Either way, Venomoth... I like Butterfree more, personally, and that might be because Butterfree gets Compound Eyes. But, you know, just let me know in the comments. Up next, we're in the top 5, right? Now we're into the top 5, which is, you know, better late than never. But the top 5 are going to be starting off with Ninjask. Ninjask is going to be big 5th. And again, I do not know if they're going to keep Baton Pass legal, but Ninjask actually does bring a lot to the table. So I've been saying this for a while, that Ninjask is actually just a good Pokemon, even if you're not going to Baton Pass. It gets Speed Boost, which is a very underrated ability. It has 90 base attack, which is really good, and 160 base speed. You're going to be the fastest thing in the meta. You're always going to be able to go first. If you want to go for a banded U-turn or a banded anything, you're going to be able to do that off a pretty decent attack stat, so it's not a terrible mon. But the cool thing about Ninjask is that usually people like to go Sash sets. They go turn 1, they can protect to get a speed boost. Turn 2, they Swords Dance, get their Sash clocked. Turn 3, they go for like a +2 speed, +2 attack, Baton Pass into a super, super bulky mon, and then they just try and win the game. And then later, you can still send out your Ninjask and start hitting stuff in the face. Like 90 base attack is good. It gets Aerial Ace, it gets Scizor, it gets good stab moves, and so it's definitely a usable mon, and definitely worthy being in the top 5, even if they ban Baton Pass from working that way, and if they say like you can't like do complicated Baton Passes and stuff like that, I still think it's going to be... I'm talking about like in a Smogon form, by the way, saying banning Baton Pass, just because it's happened before. I think Ninjask is just a great mon overall, and definitely one that's worth respecting. Here we go. Next mon. 4th mon is going to be Yanmega. I love Yanmega. It's the Pokemon I'm most excited to use in these remakes. I think Yanmega is absolutely amazing. 95 base speed. You're starting to see a little bit of a pattern where the faster things are just a little bit better. Yanmega is really, really cool. I think it is such an underrated mon. Again, another speed boost mon. I really like Yanmega when you use it with Yama, because Yanmega, I guess also, it gets Hypnosis, right? So you can just Hypnosis things, and you can go turn 1, if you have like no shot in hell at winning a game, you can go Protect turn 1, get a speed boost, and just pray to get a Hypnosis. And if you get the Hypnosis, you might be able to kill one. And if you send out the next thing, you put that one to sleep too. So Yanmega is one of the few Pokemon that can make the magic happen, can make miracles happen, and make a losing matchup into a winning one if you have enough luck and enough greed to succeed. So I do like me some Yanmega. I've been that guy that has gotten multiple Hypnosis hits that he should not hit, and it's definitely worth respecting. Like, everyone's going to have that situation where they're like, oh, my opponent's so bad they're using Yanmega, and that means you're respecting Yanmega, and it's definitely good enough to be this high on the list, in my opinion. It also gets Tinted Lens, similar to Venomoth, and it's just a good mon, because those are 2 things that are commonly resisted, which can double its stats, and you just throw a Specs on it and just start one-shotting walls and shit. They send out their Skarmory, and you air slash them, like, and 2-shot them on the switch, and it's kind of nutty. 3rd, top 3, bronze medal goes to Heracross. This is probably a little bit low. People thought this guy might be a little bit higher, I think. Heracross is amazing. Heracross is one of the few Pokemon that is just, oh my gosh, like, this is exactly what the game needed to be good. Big bug attack, because I think it's the first big Mega Horn mon. You see it gets Mega Horn down here. Stabs Mega Horn, stabs close combat. What beats bug types, right? Steel types. Not really, it's just that like you can't really hit them, right? Steel types. And then you just close combat those steel types, right? Is so good. What beats bugs? Like rock types. Close combat those rock types. Like Heracross, it has the speed that it needs to see too. Like 85 is a good speed stat. It has 3 good abilities. It has Guts. It has Swarm, which is good if you're using a Sash counter set. And it has, what is it? It has Moxie, which is a great ability. So it gets good coverage. It gets Earthquake. It gets like Rock Slide. I think it gets like Stone Edge and stuff like that. Very, very good mon. You get Shadow Claw, Night Slash, if you want to go stuff like that too. Slash, like, counter sets are good. Aerial Ace is there for the bug mirror and things like that if you don't want to go, like, the exact mirror, like, against other Heracrosses and stuff. So, very, very underrated mon. It takes neutral damage from rocks because it's the bug fighting. So, I love Heracross. It's one of my top 10 favorite Pokemon of all time. I will be using this Pokemon a lot, and I'm excited to use a bunch of Heracross sets. And then there were two. Who do you think's first? The second place is gonna be Forretress. Forretress, a lot of people might put Heracross over Forretress, but I think Forretress is a Pokemon that just, the meta is gonna be built around Forretress more than it's gonna be built around Heracross, and that's because Forretress gets Rapid Spin, which is absolutely amazing. But it also gets like all the different hazards and things like that. So Forretress is a Bug Steel type. Remember I said those were really, really good. Great base attack stat, 90 is good. 140 defense is amazing. While the rest of its stats are still kind of okay. It gets access to things like Toxic Spikes. It can still self-destruct if it needs to. It gets Rapid Spin, which is huge. It gets the Explosion. There we go. Explosion still gonna be decent. Iron Defense, no body press, but that's totally fine. Gyro Ball is a good damage move. Most sets are usually like Rapid Spin, Stealth Rocks, either Spikes or Toxic Spikes. Gyro Ball. People used to use Explosion back in the day. I think this guy's just absolutely amazing. I'm personally going to use this guy a lot with a Gen 5 tech that they added. Where is it? Volt Switch. So you just, instead of exploding, you just Volt Switch out. So play a little bit like a teleport mon. Soak some damage, set up some hazards, and then just Volt Switch out when they switch to the thing that checks the Forretress. And you're in just a really, really good spot. I think Forretress is great. It gets Spikes, it gets Toxic Spikes, it still gets Stealth Rock, and so that's something that not a lot of bug types get. And so the meta is going to be built more around things like Forretress and Skarmory than it is going to be built around things like Heracross. And so definitely respect Forretress. Definitely tech fire moves just to beat this Pokemon specifically because it takes that big 4x super effective damage from things like, Flamethrower and stuff. And the best bug type Pokemon in the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes. I just want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. People are probably thinking like, what about Bug Arceus? Okay. The Pokemon's going to be banned. We're not using any like legendaries or anything that would be an Uber. We're not using any Ubers. So the best bug type Pokemon is going to be Scizor. It's Scizor. Scizor's probably, just throwing this out here, Scizor might be the best Pokemon in the game. In the whole like Diamond and Pearl remake thing like that. Scizor has been one of the best Pokemon for years. It's basically... Scizor is just amazing. I really don't know how to really explain how good Scizor really is. 130 base attack stat off Technician, which is his ability which gives all moves that are base 60 or lower a 1.5 boost. So you use it with Bullet Punch, which is a 40, which gets a stab boost and a Technician boost. You can throw a Choice Band, you can throw a Life Orb or anything on this thing, and you can do like 70-80% to like sweepers with this thing. Fairies are also going to be in this game. They're going to be pretty decent, and this is super effective against Fairies. Scizor also gets things like U-Turn. I've talked a lot about using like Light Screen / like Pivot Scizor to, get a lot of cool stuff. Still gets things like Brick Break, which screen spikes that are going to be big. Gets access to Swords Dance, Roost, Defog. Scizor gets the full package, and like you're not wrong for putting a Scizor in every single team that you make for singles in this format. Scizor is absolutely amazing. It has a decent base speed too. If you want to go like heavier speed with U-Turn to outspeed threats, you totally can. Scizor is an amazing pick, and almost every single team should have one if it's playing for serious, because I just think it brings so much to the table. But guys, that is my list of the best bug-type Pokemon in Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and a little bit about them, their playstyles, and how you guys can use them in your own games. If you guys want to see more videos like this, think about letting me know in the comments, and don't forget to answer the question today, and let me know what the most underrated Pokemon type is. And if a lot of people have some good opinions, I might do that one for the next video. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.